Hey everyone, I'm Sam Valenti, and I have the amazing honor today of talking with an amazing musician, songwriter, DJ, and real estate agent. She's a member of the awesome rock band, the Dandy Warhols, and you can see her and the Dandies live in Tempe at the Marquee Theater on October 6th. The one and only Zia McCabe. Zia, it's such an honor to be talking with you today.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course. And Tempe is the first stop on this tour for you guys and the Black Angels. Just how excited are you for this tour?
Super excited. I'm a huge Black Angels fan, and we've obviously both the bands have known each other for years. And co-headline tours can be pretty hard to organize, so it's really cool to see it come together.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess in terms of like I guess a possible kind of set list in terms of maybe classic stuff and the newer stuff. What can fans expect from this show?
Well, for us in particular, we've always been known for doing a combination of the records. The only time we've toured an entire album start to finish was the 13th anniversary of 13 Tales from Urban Bohemia in 2013, the 13 tour. Other than that, we always do a nice mix of the albums. We are working on two songs from the new album, Rockmaker. If we can get those together in time, we'll feature at least one, if not both of those songs on this tour.
That sounds awesome. That sounds so cool. Yeah, and you mentioned that new album. No, I'm super excited for it. And it's kind of interesting timing that we're doing this interview because, one of the songs in the album is The Summer of Hate, and that banger of a music video came out just a couple days ago. I loved it. And,
Oh,
and I
good.
think what's really cool is that, it uses kind of like AI stuff, which I think is pretty cool. So, how did that music video kind of come about using AI?
Well, we are always working on a budget that seems to get tighter and tighter as the years go on. Gone are the days of making the not if you're the last junkie on earth style videos.
Hmm.
So when this new technology, this software came out like I think 3 months ago. It's really new software. We thought that that would be a great way to play around with new tech. We had a friend that had access to the software, who's interesting filmmaker Justin Lowe, who we've known for years. And so they just started feeding. We shot our stuff on green screen at the auditorium at our studio. We have a green screen psych in the building, and we gave it our images, clips of ourselves, and let it sort of run wild. I think also there were like prompt words added, like dancing aliens, or these different words to try to get the AI to cooperate. And it's fascinating seeing sort of the personality of the AI take over. But with the new technology, it's like AI has ADHD. It won't stay on one image for very long. It constantly cycles new ideas about that image. So if you watch the video, some people have had complaints of like, this is hard to watch. It's quite quick. Each image is quicker than I would prefer, but that's because if you leave it any longer, the image turns into something else anyway. So we just combined all the images that we liked rather than letting AI have too much say in the matter. And I think as far as, using technology that's not that worked out yet, I thought it came out really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it. And I just loved it. Just all the super cool visuals, all the different colors. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's awesome. I just love it.
Yeah, it's psychedelic in its own way. One thing that I thought was weird was obviously our drummer has curly hair, and in every clip, the AI insisted that he have like long blonde, like surfer hair, which I don't know why.
I mentioned earlier, at the top of this interview, that you're a DJ, and I've seen some of the clips, of you DJing, and it's awesome. Like you get so into it, you're like doing all this dancing and stuff. Fantastic. So I got to ask, and let me tell you, Tempe, I'm sure you know Arizona State is a big party school, and there's a lot of parties and all this stuff going on. So I got to ask, do you think there will be a DJ Rescue after party after the show, possibly?
I hope so. So far, one other fun thing about this tour is Jake from Black Angels is their like band DJ. So we're gonna DJ together all the after parties and just trade off. And so that's gonna be fun. And then so between us, we have booked LA, one of the nights in San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle. So we still have a few left to book, and we haven't booked anything in Arizona yet. So the intention is to DJ after every show. It really comes down to if we find a place that's either in the venue or a short walk from the venue. Most people don't really want to drive to a whole other location, I've learned. So if anyone has any ideas, I'm open.
Yeah, absolutely. There's I know that by that theater there's Mill Avenue, and it's very famous among people here in Tempe and at ASU. Mill Avenue has a ton of clubs, like great nightlife. So I would recommend probably looking at a place around there.
All right. Well, I'll post on our fan pages soon that we need some help finding venues. The fans who know the area better are usually the best at it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and of course, like I mentioned, just this new album overall, and like I said, super excited for it. What else can just fans expect from this album, perhaps in comparison to the other, recent albums that you guys have come out with?
Well, one of the things that I think the Dandies have really established with almost 30 years of making music is that we like to live on our creative edge. We're not super big fans of like doing the same thing again. That doesn't mean we don't have a distinct sound that's ours because we're using the same instruments and we're obviously the same people. But I think that leaving that kind of room to experiment and be creative on every track keeps it exciting for us. And the differences with this album is it's the boys felt very strongly about this, that we make a heavy album. They wanted a heavy rock album that was done with more sophistication and nuance than a typical rock album. And so while it's not my favorite direction I would go in, there is innovation in every track and cool psychedelic input on each track that I really respect and love. And I think that's just such a neat thing about us. So no one of our albums is going to be for everyone, right? We have fans whose absolute favorite album is This Machine, and then other fans' absolute favorite album is the Black Album, or 13 Tales, obviously with the most hits on it. But I think that that's really cool. I think it gives us a really diverse audience, and I think it keeps anybody from expecting us to ever do more of the same. And another difference on this album that's cool is there's a lot of guest musicians. So I don't know if you heard the remix that came out by, I think Nala is her name, that has Debbie Harry singing on it. So that's really cool. Debbie Harry from Blondie is singing on that track, and Nala, who remixed it, did a really fantastic job. The original on the album is cool. It's very Nick Cavey sounding to me. There's also Slash from Guns N' Roses plays
Really?
on the tracks.
Oh, that's awesome.
Maybe one of the guys from Cake joined in this time. Anyway, there's quite a few guest musicians, and now with digital tracking, you just send the files and they track it and send it back. So it's pretty easy to get, it's easier to get collaborations going these days. What the drawback is, you don't actually get to work in the studio with the people, but it's still cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's pretty cool that you can put out an album that has Debbie Harry and Slash on it. I mean, it's pretty sick.
I think that's pretty sick.
Yeah, absolutely. But you do make a good point that obviously, with things being so easy to just send over these days, that it obviously, it would be more fun if people could just fly, over and then, actually like work in the studio. Cause I mean, I imagine that would be just insane, right?
Of course. I mean, I think one of the best examples of us getting to do that was working with Duran Duran on Welcome to the Monkey House. We were actually working together in the same room, and that's very different. So it's interesting because you have more access to the talent, but less access to the person. And so it's as far as making the records, it's better than it's ever been with access. But as far as getting to hang out with rock stars that you love, not as much.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Now you mentioned this. You mentioned kind of the direction this album's going in. It's going to have that nice heavy rock sound. But I'm curious. Let's say that you had like 100% direction on this album. Where would you go with this if this was all you?
If I was making, like, okay, let's put it like I'm making the next record, like I
Right,
get
right, right.
100% say, I would want to do a thought experiment that this is our last record. We're never making a record again. I don't want that to be the case, but as a thought experiment, as a mindset. And so we have to bring to this record anything we never thought we got to contribute on a past record, right? And get as experimental as we possibly can, but staying within the parameters of being very lush and more sensual, and definitely still have danceable tracks, but nothing too extremely edgy. I want it to be we make really, really beautiful psychedelic music. And this album leans heavy, heavy, heavy on heavy, edgy choices. I would rather go the opposite direction and make it all lush and velvet and dreamy and have long stretches of instrumental pieces. That's what I would really like to have. And I hope that that's what the next record is, because we tend to, vacillate between different styles. And yeah, I would like to make just the dreamiest, trippiest record. I would like us to all go into the studio and drop some acid and see where that takes us.
I really love the album that you guys came out with a couple years ago in 2020. It's very different from all your other albums. It's mostly instrumental music. I think it goes on for like what, 4 hours, and there's like not a lot of vocals. I mean, you speak French on one of the tracks, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
With Sylvain from the New York Dolls.
Yeah, yes. And I just really enjoyed that record, and I really liked kind of the how experimental it was. But I think I read somewhere that a lot of material on that album was like recorded like a while ago. Is that
All
correct?
of it. We made that record ages ago, like early 2000s. And it was, the entire album was an exercise in using instruments that we don't normally play. Obviously, I still relied heavily on synthesizers and organs, but I don't typically play farfisas or Rhodes. And we had a lot of farfisas and Rhodes on there, and other giant Wurlitzer organs and whatnot. I think the exercise went quite well, but when it was done, we didn't really know what to do with it. So we only used it for background music when we would host, for several years in a row. We haven't done it in a while. We host dinners that have 100 to 120 fans from all over the world that buy tickets to come to this dinner. And it's a hotel package for the weekend. So they get the hotel, and then they come to the dinner where it's like a 5-course meal with wine pairings. Courtney gets very into the wine pairings. And then the finale is us performing to a few short avant-garde films where we do a live score with theremins and keytars and modular synths and electronic drums. It's really interesting and bizarre thing for us to do as an experimental performance. But during the whole meal, we would just use that Tofflemusic in the background. And Tofflemusic is a name for, I think it's 13th century kind of Baroque music, where before you had recorded music, you would just have a live band, like chamber music or Tofflemusic sort of playing in the corner. And that was what we ended up calling that record. When COVID started, I felt strongly that we needed to put something out immediately, give people something to listen to right now while they're stuck at home. And that record I thought was perfect for that. So we changed the name to Tofflemusic Means More When You're Alone, and that picture of Peter on the cover in the LA theater just all by himself, which I thought was a really cool photo. And then we changed a bunch of the song titles. So it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel bored. I don't think anybody quite realized how boring a pandemic could be, and we all sat there. We all got bored pretty quick, right? And then we had to dig in and start getting creative in new ways. And I thought it was cool. Not everyone dug it, but I listen to that album regularly. I think it's a really, really good kind of background album to play.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that assessment. When I like playing that album whenever, I'm doing laundry or stuff or
Mm-hmm.
dishes, or
Yeah.
it's perfect music for that. I mean, even sometimes I'll be studying for an exam or something, and then that's great music to just have on in the background while I'm studying.
Exactly. And I mean, that one's not as ambient as a lot of Brian Eno, but I really think it fits. I want to show you a record. I think that it I think it really fits in with the worlds of like Brian Eno and Philip Glass. And if you look at this record, Philip Glass Works, it's I didn't know this album at the time, but I have been listening to this album nonstop while I do stuff around the house. It starts out really kind of hyper at the beginning, and if it went the whole album, you would just start to feel anxious. But it starts off really hyper, kind of going and into a workflow, and then it tapers off and gets mellow and just sort of steps back and lets you keep doing your thing mentally. And I have no idea what his intentions were when he made that album, but I was noticing that there's a lot of those ebbs and flows of energy in that Toffle record. So I feel that that album can be firmly placed into the genre of the Brian Enos and the Philip Glasses of the world.
Yeah, definitely. You know what I think would be cool is if somehow so like somehow some way you guys can like perform that whole album like in concert, just like
That will
full
never
album.
happen. That will never.
Uh,
I mean, we were using like a toy drum machine that who knows where it is, and a million different keyboards, and we took advantage of every instrument in the studio, right? We were like kids in a candy store. There were no rules. We never said no to anybody's ideas, and we just threw everything on there and then, massaged it into shape. And it is an album that will never be performed live, not by us anyway.
yeah, well, it's definitely. I'll tell you, it's definitely one of my favorites. And it's
Oh,
definitely. And so I love that one. Now I want to kind of go back to this album coming out a little bit. I got to ask, as a big fan of the song High Life that you wrote and sang, are there any songs in this new album that you take the lead on?
there's not, and that is totally my fault. I did actually have one that was very oh, what is that song by Black Sabbath? Planet Caravan. Because they were making a heavy record, I was like, well, every heavy record needs a ballad or a slow song, right? And I started writing Planet Caravan, but I never got it finished, and so it didn't make it on the record. I'll probably rework it to be more appropriate for the next album. So, sorry, that's my dog. So no, I really my biggest contribution to this album was percussion. I played chimes and triangles and gongs and different drums and obviously shaker and tambourine. I think I only recorded bass on like 4 songs. I just it's the heavier side of the dandies is where I'm typically less involved and typically less interested. It's a part of our spectrum that I identify with the least. I am much more into the lush, trippy psychedelic stuff. I want it to be groovy and melty, and this one's way edgier, which I appreciate, but I don't identify as deeply with. So I struggled more participating creatively on it. Percussion, I loved doing. Once I found that I was the percussionist of this album, I was happy.
Yeah, absolutely. But the that album idea that you had earlier, I really, I really hope that's the next album. So
Me too.
I'll have my fingers crossed here.
Like, Why You So Crazy, which I don't know. I wonder how many fans Why You So Crazy is their favorite. I kind of think none, sadly, but I love that album. It's totally strange. It's all like you're having a weird dream. And it's definitely got edgy parts on it, but it's got a beauty to its madness that I dig more. Like I think to me that's the extreme edge of edgy psychedelic, and less it has less heavy distorted guitars and heavy rock elements. Whereas Rockmaker, I mean, it's called Rockmaker. That was the goal. These guys wanted to make a sophisticated, nuanced, innovative, heavy rock album, and they did it. It's awesome. I'm super proud of Courtney and Peter for co-writing this album. Obviously, the contributions that Brent made from Australia are great too. But me and Brent, I think, kind of had a backseat on this record, and I'm super proud of Courtney and Peter for the work they did.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Now I want to talk about something kind of different from the Dandies here. Some people might not know that you have this country music side project called the Brush Prairie, which I think is super cool. How did that come to be? How did that project kind of get started?
I grew up in a log cabin with a really great record collection of my dad's, and most of it was country and psychedelic rock. So it's natural for me that those would be my two projects. That the Dandies is my psych rock band, and then Brush Prairie is my like honky tonk twangy, Patsy Cline meets Willie Nelson band. And it really started from singing in front of a live karaoke band in Portland, Karaoke from Hell. They've been around forever. They know like 600 songs, and you go in and a live band backs you up while you sing a song. It's funny that I would think that's really fun since I kind of do that for a living, but it got me out there singing lead, which I hadn't done really. And a friend who came to every Monday to Karaoke from Hell asked if I would do the songs that I had been covering there as like perform them at a party of his. And then the gigs just kept coming. So eventually I was like, I guess we're a band. I guess I should have a name. Brush Prairie is the town I was born in. And then I thought, I guess I should write some songs. I guess I should record an EP. And now it's pretty anemic. I don't get to spend a lot of time doing Brush Prairie, but it's the kind of project that I can do for the rest of my life, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I just think it's so cool because I'm a native Texan. I'm from Texas, so we love our country music down there.
Yeah,
So
you do. Well, and that's where High Life came from. Courtney asked if I had any songs that would fit on that was on Why You So Crazy, yeah?
mm,
Is that right? I'm terrible remembering what songs are on what album. But he asked if I had any songs to contribute, and so I played that one for him. And we turned it into sort of a psychobilly track for the Dandies, which I love how it turned out. No, I will write some songs for the next record, I promise.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I said earlier, High Life is such a great song.
Thank you.
Like you kind of mentioned, it has that kind of that psychedelic, but kind of country mix is kind of as well. It's just really great, and I hope that maybe it can be performed live. When at this show coming up, I think that would be awesome because I've seen the videos of it performed live, and it looks super.
Oh yeah, our drummer wanted it performed live too, and he brought it up, but the other guys weren't as receptive. So I don't think we're gonna perform it live, but I would certainly love doing it. I love every time we get to do it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I always like that because it kind of it puts you in the spotlight. You're able to get up there and you're singing. I just kind of take the lead on it, and I love that. I think that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Now I want to bring up something that you got to do earlier this month that I think is super cool. Something that I think is so awesome about you is that you're so involved in the Portland community. And I've been to Portland before, wonderful city, lots of great culture there. Um, and earlier this month, you got to speak at the unveiling of this wonderful mural in Portland that you guys are on, and as well as other Portland musicians. So, what did that mean to you, getting to be a part of that special occasion?
Well, I mean, It's always nice to be recognized, of course. And I think that most musicians live with some level of imposter syndrome. And it's little things like this that kind of show you, like, regardless of how you may feel about yourself, sometimes you're a legit artist. And here you are on this mural in a really great company, with the Kingsmen and Sleater Kinney and Mel Brown and Storm Large and Pink Martini and Elliott Smith. And, these are amazing artists that I really respect. And so to see our faces in there in such good company, it's very validating. I also just love murals in general. And so anytime we get to beautify a plain wall with paint and art and vision and a statement, I'm here for it. And I also really like public speaking. So that I was asked to speak at the unveiling was flattering, and a nice opportunity for me to get up and talk about how I feel.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's and you mentioned Elliott Smith earlier, and I think that it's so cool. You guys are up there with him, and it's also cool because you guys and Elliott Smith are on the soundtrack for a Good Will Hunting. So
Yeah. Yep.
I believe it's Boys Better. I believe that's the song.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always my, whenever I'm watching that movie, and it's one of my favorites, that's always my favorite part is I think it's at a scene in a bar, and then that's
Hmm.
playing in the background.
Yeah, I feel like we were in every single movie during that era. I couldn't go to a movie without hearing us on a soundtrack, which was awesome. I mean, it was like Igby Goes Down, Good Will Hunting, There's Something About Mary. It was just nonstop. I would love those days to return. It was fun hearing my songs in all the movies and TV shows and advertisements.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and I know a lot of people then they think there was like the Vodafone commercial, I believe.
Well, I mean, that commercial single-handedly established our career as something that could have this kind of a longevity. So thank you, Vodafone, for, I mean, the people that we met there are not people that I would thank for anything. They were kind of a nightmare, but the company in general deciding to use our song brought great value to us. So thanks, Vodafone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's kind of cool because that really got you guys, you kind of put you guys on the map over in like Europe and stuff. You guys have a huge following there.
100%. I mean, that album came out and didn't really gain much traction. And I don't know what we had done to burn some bridges, but the head of Radio 1 BBC was not a fan and did not want to play our music on the radio. And kind of right as we were about to just go home and make another record, the Vodafone ad came out. And if you see the ad, it's like $1 million video. Kids are jumping off cliffs into the river. They're running in to be the first ones into a festival. It's like the first day of summer vibes, and they played it everywhere nonstop. We re-released the single, we re-released the album. The single went to, I don't know, number 3 on radio BBC One. It was huge, and that carried over to all of Western Europe and over to Australia. And it made all the difference in our career. It really, truly, single-handedly is the difference between the level of success that we have now, and I don't even know if we would have enough success to keep the band going without the boost that ad gave us.
Yeah, definitely. Well, hey, in any case, no, I'm glad you guys are still here, still kicking ass to this day. So I mean, that's what matters. So I'm just, no, I'm so thankful that you guys are still around, just putting out, amazing music.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Now my last question here is, I'm just curious, what sort of advice would you have just in case there's any aspiring musicians who might be listening or watching this? What advice would you have for them?
Um, it would be similar to the advice that Andy Warhol gives to artists. If you're a musician and that's what you love doing, then do that. Make music. Make music every day. Don't stop and worry about if people like it or not. That's the critic's job. Your job is just to keep doing what you love. And if your music never gets more than an audience of one, so be it. If your music happens to be palatable to a wider group of people, then enjoy that too. But if your focus is to be a musician, just be a musician and show up for whatever opportunities that you see present themselves. Don't let your own fear of success or your own doubts of ability get in the way of creating.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. That is some fantastic advice. Um,
Thanks.
but seriously, Zia, thank you so much for letting me have the opportunity to talk with to talk with you today. Just truly an honor, and it's not every day that you're able to talk to a legend like yourself. So pretty amazing
Well,
experience.
thank you for reaching out, Sam.
Well, hey, it's my pleasure, truly. And yes, and everyone be sure to go see Zia and the Dandies once again live in Tempe, October 6th at the Marquee Theater. It's going to be one heck of a show, so be sure to go see it. But just Zia, once again, just the honor is all mine. Just thank you so very much.
It was my pleasure.